back, which if you're not a Texan, that's West Texas.
We didn't run, we drove.
Cotton fields and flat ground and
there's some mesas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's West Texas. Think what you see in the movies with Texas.
Mm-hmm. We didn't see any cowboys.
We didn't see longhorn.
We didn't see horses, and we saw horses, but yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, we were in Lubbock, and it was a great weekend. We did Patterns for Change, and
a 2-day conference on changing life patterns, relational patterns, generational patterns, behavioral patterns. When you start to see things in patterns, then it's easier to change them because you're not just trying to muscle yourself through changing a behavior. You can interrupt the cycles. So that's what we did there.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, super fun.
And hello, Susan.
Good evening.
And it looks like YouTube is not up right now.
Oh, interesting. Well,
you
take a look. I'm going to talk a little bit.
And say hi.
So real quick, we are in a series called Cultivating Culture, just taking a look at some of the key elements that we believe would be important to really foster in our culture during a time of crisis and or disruption. And so we've talked about everything from critical thinking, relationship skills, emotional intelligence, we're kind of in an intersection between those last two. Tonight, we're going to talk about empathy. But I want to say that, since you're joining us at a point in time where we're talking about emotional intelligence, we do have a little something coming up. Are you about to do that? Or you're going to say hi?
Yeah, I will. I'm just going to say hi to David. Thank you, David. I'm trying to spell your name, and now I just said it. You're on YouTube. Perfect. Thank you for letting me know.
Oh, good.
The comment just hadn't gone through about the hellos.
So
okay.
we do have 2 events coming up in the month of October, which October starts Friday.
That's ridiculous.
September's coming to an end. It's a little kind of hazy outside.
Yes.
Temperature goes down. We just bought our firewood. And so, but starting in October, we have 2 events coming up. One of them called Outsmart Your Heart, which is our 4-week event on developing emotional intelligence. The model we're using for that is once you sign up for that, a week beforehand, you'll get a link to the first week's videos that you can watch at your own pace.
And FYI, all of these videos are new. It's all new material.
Brand new.
Yeah. We just recorded it specifically for this event. Like we do teach on the brain and a couple other things that we've taught to, but they're all very specifically taught for outsmarting your heart.
So the idea would be recognizing that emotional intelligence is one of the key indicators of success, both relationally and professionally, as well as one of the key things we talk about with our clients.
Yeah.
And we've not really had a good resource to point people to. I'm sure they're out there, but we just didn't know. So we wanted to just develop our own.
Mm-hmm.
So we're starting it out as this 4-week Zoom-based event where you'll watch the videos each week, and then you'll join us on Zoom every Tuesday night over 4 weeks from October 19th through November 9th, if I've got that right.
Mm-hmm. So it would just be a longer Tuesday night for you guys. So
you
Tuesday night, at 6 o'clock, and then at 7 o'clock Central Standard Time, we will start our hour-and-a-half class.
And do you have the link there to that? Oh,
no, I'll do that in a second.
Oh, yeah. So in a second, we'll put up the link. The other event we have coming up is a different format. And this one's called Healing the Heart That Keeps You Hooked. One of the things we know all the time is that when we work with people that have compulsive behaviors, they're either trying to start a behavior, stop a behavior, stop a habit. So, for instance, you're trying to lose weight, stop looking at porn on the internet, stop screaming at your kids, whatever it might be. Those things that are kind of, we feel driven to do, the thing that drives us to do them is untended emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And so you'll learn about that in Outsmart Your Heart, but you'll learn what to do about that. And we'll give you some keys and strategies about things to do with that in this one called Healing the Heart That Keeps You Hooked, where we look at specifically what's the role of emotions in compulsive behavior and thinking, and then what are some strategies that will help you overcome, or more accurately, regulate your emotions in such a way that it no longer results in compulsive behavior and thoughts, but rather results in health and freedom.
We would encourage both events just because they go literally hand in hand.
Yeah.
So, but it would be a very busy October for you.
But satisfying.
Yes. And a busy October for us. We'll be there with you guys the whole time.
Yeah.
And so that one is Friday evening, October 22nd. And I think that's like 6 p.m.
Yeah.
Central Standard Time. We'll go for about 3 hours. And then Saturday from 9 a.m. to 4.
Yeah,
with a lunch break in there. So
that one's a little bit more like a video conference,
mm-hmm.
and we'll be live again, so we can respond to your comments on the feed.
Mm-hmm.
But it will be a live stream where we'll take turns teaching. One of us will respond while the other one teaches, and vice versa. And so that one will be really walking you guys through an understanding of the role of emotions in our behavioral patterns. Super helpful for people that are trying to lose weight.
Mm-hmm.
Or really change a habit that's been hard to change in some way.
Any addictions that you've wrestled with and things like that. It's really just kind of shifting thought processes and really healing the heart. So if you go to tdacad.com/events, I don't think you have to put that other / in there, but you can. Or just go to our website and go to events, and they will be in there.
Yeah.
So perfect.
So, having told you all that now, and you're all here, or at least many more of you are here.
Yes.
So, hello, Cindy, David. I know Polly said all the hellos already.
Well, I haven't. I said to David because he was helping me with YouTube. Cindy, April. And then April and Restream.
Beth.
Good morning, Beth.
Beth, you made it.
Jim and Betty. Temperature goes up. Woohoo! Yeah, ours starts going down. So it's so funny. Hello, Bethany and Demetria. Yay. And then Eliza. Glad you guys are here.
Yeah. So tonight we're going to continue talking about emotional intelligence, probably right up until the events.
Mm-hmm.
And know that though we're teaching some things here, it's not the same material that you would get in those events. This is kind of a complement to that. Tonight we want to talk about empathy.
Yes.
Kind of what I would call the primary center of emotional intelligence, because emotional intelligence isn't just something that's internal, understanding your own emotional self and process, but it's a part of one of the reasons it's such an incredible indicator of success is because of the way it fosters healthy relationship.
Yeah.
Right. So empathy is the key skill in relationships. Whether that be professional relationships, there's tons of research on the impact of leaders with empathy, and how much more loyalty they get from their team, how much more output they get from their teams, how much more their teams develop healthy processes, all because of one of the most, if not the most important leadership skill is empathy. So let's talk about what it is.
What is empathy?
So empathy is the connection that happens when you're willing to feel what someone else is feeling at the same time that they are.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it doesn't mean that you have to jump into the pool with them necessarily, but it means the ability to recognize and be familiar with the emotions that the person across from you or the people in a given room are feeling. Some people are so naturally empathic, they almost can't stop feeling what's going on around them.
Yeah.
In fact, we often get conversation communication from people who say, look, I'm an empath. Some people would call that an ESP, extra sensitive person. Hey, Cassandra, good to see you. That ESP or extra sensitive person is the one who will contact us and say, look, I have a hard time keeping other people's emotions out. Now, empathy is not necessarily the inability to keep other people's emotions out, but empathy is the ability to connect other people and to recognize value and even to a degree feel their feelings with them. Mm-hmm. Hey, Abby, how are you? Good to see you. And so empathy, one of the reasons it's such a crucial both leadership skill and the most important relationship skill is it's the skill that allows genuine connection to happen instead of just partnership.
Yeah.
Polly and I can agree on a process and work through the details and give each other assignments, and all we're doing is partnering together, which isn't a bad thing to do. But empathy moves us from partnering together to being one, and to being in union, and to being connected with each other in that partnership. And so empathy allows me to know how she's feeling and her to know how I'm feeling. And again, if that doesn't necessarily immediately speak to you about what's important about that, one of the most important things about that, and you'll hear a lot about this in the Outsmart Your Heart event, is that emotions are the driver of the soul. Whether if you think that you're not driven by emotions, you're just not quite recognizing the connection that happens.
Yeah.
Because emotions are designed to be both internal communication and the driver of the soul. And so if you're not familiar with the emotions both in your own soul and the people around you, you'll lose out on an understanding of their primary drive and primary motivations. Mm-hmm. To the degree that you're able to both recognize, we're going to get Beth's question in just a second.
Sure.
And we said hi to Abby, right?
Yes, we did.
Okay. To the degree that you recognize the emotional state and can connect to the emotional state of those people around you, you really can partner with them in the things that most drive them. So empathy, in some sense, is the opposite of narcissism.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, gosh, yes.
It's kind of the classic sign of narcissism is the absolute lack of empathy. And so the reason I say it's the opposite is because narcissism makes the narcissist the center of all stories. Empathy makes all of us equals in one big story. Mm-hmm. And so, Beth, let's talk about the difference between empathy and sympathy. I'm glad you asked. Sometimes I feel sympathy and at the same time feel all empathy out.
It's hard to say.
My definition may actually change what you said because there is a degree to which we recommend against sympathy. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you why, is because sympathy is, I feel like I taught this, maybe it was in the videos that we made.
Oh, maybe so.
Anyway, I've said it recently, but it always bears repeating. Sympathy is actually a principle of physics. And that principle of physics says that power is transferred between systems when their frequencies match. Mm-hmm. So if this were a crystal glass and I do this, and you could match the pitch, there's the pitch. Right, there's the pitch of it.
Crystal would be different, yeah.
And we could match the pitch of that, and I could sing that pitch louder, then potentially this glass would shatter because the power of my voice is transferred to the crystal when the frequencies match. That's how you see a singer shatter a glass with their voice. Now, usually it's a machine, not a singer, but that's, anyway. So the principle of physics is that sympathy is the principle that says power is transferred between two systems when the frequencies match. So what that means is when someone else feels an emotion, sympathy allows that emotion to transfer to you because you're actually matching their frequency. Mm-hmm. So especially as helpers, Polly's a trauma coach. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. And as such, we sit down with people who are often in emotional pain. And if we feel sympathy with them, what happens is the power of their pain transfers to us because we match their frequency.
Yeah.
Usually not so much empathy, but empathy is kind of the soil of what I'm about to say. Compassion allows the frequency or the power to transfer the other direction. So compassion is when we feel the love of God for somebody else and it flows to us and through us to them. And so one of the reasons we recommend against sympathy is it actually makes us fall under the power of the other person's negative emotional state. Mm-hmm. Now, if they're in a positive emotional state, awesome. Mm-hmm. But generally, we tend to sympathize when someone's feeling sad, down, hurt, something like that. And so empathy is being able to connect to it, or another way that I say that is to care about it without carrying it.
Yes.
So it's the ability to connect to it without coming under the power of it or underneath the weight of it. And so empathy allows us to join them without receiving from them. Mm-hmm. Is that a good way to say that?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to look at Jan's comment real quick before it goes too far away. Hoping to hear both of your thoughts regarding how the empath can put up their own emotional guardrails to help curb their own emotional triggers, compassion, fatigue, etc. Do you want to do that right now?
Yeah, we can do that real quick.
It's a great question. Yes. And it's probably the most common question we get regarding empaths and empathy. Mm-hmm. Again, if it's new language to you, the term empath or ESP, extra sensitive person, is a common way to refer to somebody who has a natural state of empathy. And it's very difficult for people like that to be in the presence, like at a funeral or, some place where a lot of people are gathered together around difficult circumstances. Mm-hmm. Or even when people are gathered and strong emotions come up, an empath can easily feel overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I always tell people, and I don't know if I've heard you talk about this, so
yeah, I'll jump in.
One of the things I always tell people is that it's important in those moments and times as an empath that you choose to broadcast. In other words, think of a water hose, and if that water hose is spraying water out, no dirt gets inside the nozzle. That's a terrible metaphor. But again, as an empath, if you're giving, then that actually can prevent you from receiving inadvertently.
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, I've been in a situation where, kind of as a pastoral figure at a funeral and visit with the family, what I try to do is make sure when I stop by the family, I'm giving to them. I'm
Mm-hmm.
giving care. I'm giving attention. I'm giving focus and connection. And what that giving does is it makes sure that the flow is always going out and not in. Now, once I get still, I really do have to kind of breathe, and sometimes just kind of what the other thing I'll say is almost a mental barrier.
Mm.
Like literally, you can kind of picture either clear plastic, saran wrap, whatever it might be that kind of allows you to visually see, okay, I can be close to people's emotions, but I don't have to let them in.
Yeah. I think there's an important, just realizing going into situations, it's like, okay, this isn't about me. And I have a propensity to feel others' emotions and absorb them like a sponge. And so, when you catch yourself, and sometimes it's really just testing the waters. It's like I can walk into a room and be like incredibly overwhelmed. If it's all happy and everybody's jovial and all that, but it's like, okay, so I need to go, okay, I can be a part of that happy and be excited for other people. And I can be excited myself too. But if it's something really sad, like going to a funeral or stepping into a family situation where everybody's always it's going, okay, I know this about me, and I'm going to choose not to be a sponge today. Yeah. I'm going to choose to connect in a way where I can be empathic and go, oh, this is, I see that your heart is really sad today, and I'm going to sit with you in it. And I may even grieve too, but I can grieve my own pain, but not both pains or all the pain. I can be excited about something and not carry everybody's excitement, because then I'm going to be overstimulated. Mm-hmm. And so it's that kind of, like what Bob's talking about, maybe having like a clear plastic, but really knowing yourself and what it's like to step into situations and starting to shift it from going, I always get overwhelmed in these situations. It's like, what if empathy is a superpower? What if it's actually a gift that you have, that you can see through other people's eyes and you can connect to their heart? And in that, you get to be you in a superpower kind of way, and not walk away with boulders of grief or anger or pain. You get to be you stepping into that. And because now you know that it's a superpower.
So let's take a couple questions real quick. April asked if sympathy then is codependence. Mm-hmm. Yes. It really is saying I'm going to carry that, whether that's conscious or unconscious. It's right. The transfer of the power of that person's pain to the person who is the one that's nearby, not the person who's really the initial recipients of pain. So yes, codependence. Claire, how in the world can a past trauma kill all empathy? It blows my mind that it does. Really, what the trauma does is it numbs the nervous system to all sensation.
Yeah.
And so empathy, think about empathy. If empathy is the capacity to feel what someone else is feeling, I'll just say that narcissists feed on empathy because they take advantage of the care, kindness, and connectedness. See what I did there? The care, kindness, and connectedness of an empath or a naturally empathic person. And they latch on and suck as much emotion and emotional care as they can. And so one of the things that happens is abuse takes advantage of the best qualities of the abuse victim. And if they stay in that abuse too long, then what happens is they begin to despise their own best qualities and even potentially shut them down. Some of that's a kind of an unconscious shutdown. Some of that, Claire, is exactly what you're saying, that the nervous system is just overwhelmed and it gets shut down. Is that the reason you feel drained after being around someone who's sad or grieving? Mm-hmm. You're trying so hard to comfort. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
By sympathizing with them instead of empathizing with them. Yeah. It definitely has a different shift. So do you want to do a...
Yes.
An example.
I do, but I want to say, so this is actually, I'll say something about it first. This is actually one of the first skills that we taught to our training and certification group this time around, because empathy is the context, for all the ministry that we teach, all the different technique and all the different approach that we teach. Empathy is the most important context for that, so that you connect to the person you're helping. So first, I want to say a couple things that are not empathy.
Okay.
And maybe we'll demonstrate that.
Yeah.
And then we'll demonstrate what is empathy. And then we'll kind of wrap up for the night. But we want to really just emphasize the importance of empathy.
Yeah.
So, yes, empathetic communication skills, says one of our training and certification participants. So empathy is not saying, I'm sorry that happened to you. Empathy is not saying, oh, I understand. Empathy is not saying, I had the same thing happen to me, or I feel the same way. Because part of empathy is that if I'm the one, I'm going to turn just a little bit because we're about to do this. If I'm the one expressing empathy, then my focus is actually on the other person, not on me. And anytime I use a phrase or an idea like, oh, I understand that, or I feel the same way, or I've been through that too, I literally turn the attention away from her and onto me. And so a lot of things that we do when we're trying to comfort someone who's struggling, we inadvertently actually do the opposite of comfort for them. Because if we do this, and Polly's gone through something hard, she made a souffle and it fell, right? And so she's over there grieving for her souffle.
Which is so funny because I don't bake.
I picked something way out there. And I say, oh, yeah, that's happened to me too. I really know how that feels. So I'm sorry that happened to you.
Okay.
So all that I did, she's feeling something. And what I just did is I turned all the attention back to me. Now you could see that kind of shut her down and she turned away from me.
Or if I was
also
empathic and codependent, I would say, I'm so sorry that happened to you.
And I've successfully gotten attention instead of giving attention. So one of the things that does to another empathic person is it draws them in. So not only do I turn the attention away, but I turn their attention away. And when they should have been tended to, they end up doing the tending.
And so when, let's see here, who was it that talked about the trauma? Claire. So, if you've dealt with, people who are, the trauma and abuse, and they're making you responsible for their emotional state, then, you're probably just shut down and burned out. It's like, every time I've tried to empathize, they turn around and make it about them. And then I feel like I've had to comfort them in their souffle disaster.
Then instead of connecting, it actually puts a barrier or a distance between us.
Yeah.
So empathy really moves people towards connection. Those skills that people learn early that aren't real empathy actually puts a divide between them. So you want to practice, you want me to practice empathy, or you want to practice empathy?
Whichever one you want to do.
Okay. Let's do, I'll come up with something terrible that's happened.
Okay. Am I doing?
So do it bad first.
Okay. Perfect. Just need to have.
So Polly's going to do all the bad empathy first, and I'm going to come up with something besides the souffle because we've already burned out the souffle. Get it? Yes. Good call, Beth.
Yeah.
Increasing empathy comes from connection with God. Increasing empathy, really, you think about Jesus when he felt compassion on people before he healed them. His compassion is really his heart reaching out to them to feel with them what they're feeling, but not to come under the power of that. Yeah, for sure. When other people do that, it really shuts down the other person. So I'm going to come up with a hard thing that's happened to me, maybe.
Okay.
I don't know if I'll do a real one or not. But,
it's not going to be about cake, is it?
That's not going to be about cake.
Okay, good.
We'll do. So I talked about my family of origin from the platform in Lubbock.
Yeah.
And I told the people, I said, so this is so many years past and I've done so much freedom work on this. This really is not like a present issue for me that I'm aware of. But I'll talk about it as if it is. And then you can do bad empathy first.
Perfect.
Okay. So I don't know if I've ever told you this, but when my dad was in prison when I left Michigan. And when I left Michigan, I went to visit him. And when I walked in, he called me by my brother's name.
I'm trying to do bad empathy.
That's pretty bad.
Your dad was in prison?
Yeah.
Wow. Gosh, what did he do?
Well, he he paid to have somebody killed.
Holy cow. Ew. Is that like in your family and all that? Like, that's so weird.
Yeah, that happened.
Yeah. Wow. Have you been to prison?
No, I've never been to prison.
No. That's weird. Gosh. Okay. What do you do with that? Like, do you see him anymore? Or?
Yeah, no, he passed away.
Oh, he's dead.
Yeah.
Wow. That's all I got. Was that bad? Was that bad? That was bad.
She did bad empathy good, didn't she?
Yeah. Oh gosh, that was so hard.
So then I'll say a little bit more about that, and she can now practice good empathy.
That's bad. Thank you, Susan. Leanne. Ouch. Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you want to do another bad one, or you ready?
Yeah. So let me make it about me, because
Okay.
I didn't make it about me. So, because sometimes people, anyway.
Yeah. So I'll take the story a little bit further.
Okay.
And just say, so then, it was a couple years later, that was the last time I ever saw him.
Mm.
And so like in my last meeting, that's what happened. And then in like 1993, I got a phone call that he was dead.
Wow. I'm so sorry. My dad died like, gosh, when was it? It was in like 2004. So yeah, it's hard when a dad dies.
Yeah.
It's so hard. Thank you, Beth.
Isn't it good that it's hard to
so
do bad
good
empathy?
At the bad
right?
at me. Yeah. I didn't even get well.
It's I think we've had that experience where we try to like do the bad skills.
Yeah.
And we both like feel
it just slimy. It feels slimy.
It feels mean
Yeah.
sometimes to do that. So, all right, see if I can back up and say more about that. Because that's the end of the story. So I'll back up and say more, and then you want to do good empathy?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, something in my eye.
It's not tears.
No.
You're sad. You okay?
Hurts.
Oh. I'm so sorry your eye hurts. Is there anything I can help you with in that?
I'm good, thanks.
My eye hurt yesterday. You want a sandwich? Okay, I'm ready.
All right. So really what happened is like the reason he ended up in prison, I told you like what he was charged with.
Yeah.
But that was the whole like end of my parents' marriage.
Mm.
And, he wasn't really there very much anyway. And then I kind of watched him be really mean to my mom for a while. And next thing you know, we get a call that he's headed to prison.
Wow. It had to be really shocking and confusing for you. How old were you?
I was 14 when he left and like 15 or 16 when he went to prison.
Wow. So you were pretty young.
Yeah. Important
times to have a dad in your life, but it sounds like that was not the case in your growing up.
Yeah.
It must have been hard.
Yeah.
A little scary.
I think I felt like left alone.
Yeah. Yeah. So very lonely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so sorry that happened. Yeah.
See the difference? One of the things that empathy does is it attempts to name the emotions the other person's feeling. And the goal isn't even necessarily that you name it right. It's not a question of, oh, I'm going to be so good at empathy, I'm going to get the emotions right, because that's still making it about you. Mm-hmm. It's about trying to identify verbally the other person's emotions, because when you do that, you're not just saying, I get it. You're saying, you're showing that you get it. You must have really felt alone. That must have really been scary. When she starts naming those emotional states, those words connect with something inside of me. And the more that your words are able to connect with the other person's experience, it shows them that you're with them, instead of having to say, I'm with you.
Right.
I am present with you in this moment.
I am present with your pain.
I can't name it at all. I hope you notice how present I am, but I'm present with you.
Yes.
Right? So the key to empathy is just to name when that happened, whatever it was. Mm-hmm. You must have really felt whatever emotions you can identify. And for some of you, that may be natural and easy to say and do. For others, it may seem like it's not enough. Mm-hmm. It may seem foreign. I want you to hear, too much is too much. The point is not to say the right words, but to connect to the other person. So empathy is enough familiarity with their emotional state. Mm-hmm. You can join them in it, but not distract from it.
Right.
And anytime you make it about how good did I do, am I saying the right words, I feel uncomfortable, whatever it might be, you're not joining them. You're still kind of conscious and aware of yourself.
Yeah. So if you're used to doing another way where it's like, oh, wow, that, I had a dad once, and if you're like, oh, crud, you can say, let me say it another way. That had to be really difficult for you to walk through by yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you can shift it, because sometimes we think, oh, if I share my story with them, then we're going to have this common bond. And that's kind of a common thought process. And when it's like, oh, I'm going to share this with you. So now we're blood brothers, and all of that kind of stuff. And it's lack of empathy, and you can start shifting it when you catch yourself doing it the old way. So then you can try it in a new way of saying, wow, that must have, you must have felt really alone at 14 and 15. You were really young.
One of the things that's really a little bit of a double bind about empathy is what makes us capable of empathy is our own stories.
Mm-hmm.
I too know what it's like to feel abandoned. I too know what it's like to feel rejected. I too know what it feels like. And so knowing what those things feels like is the foundation of our empathy, but using that actually turns it away from empathy, or using it verbally. So if you could say it in passing, but if you at all turn the attention away from the other person, you've turned it from empathy into attention seeking.
So, Leanne, you asked, should you say it must have made you feel, or ask them how it made you feel? So the goal would be you're listening to them and you're trying to connect to what they're feeling. So you can do either one. It's like, so what did that feel like when your dad, when you got the call that he was going to jail? So you can ask that question, or if you're able to pick up on some things, you can, and they're not able to put words to it, you can say those words. And then, like he said, it wasn't scary. I mean, it was kind of scary, but it was more lonely.
Yeah.
And so it helped, he then said it. And so either one of those, you can go either direction with those. I usually try, well, it's contingent on who I'm talking to.
I think if you can name it, and here's why, because what you're saying is, I hear you.
Yeah.
And this, the question says, I'm willing to hear you. And that's really nice and good and helpful. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's a little bit stronger, I think, to say, I hear what you're not saying. Mm-hmm. Because they have less work to do if you say, wow, that must have really felt paralyzing.
Yeah.
And maybe they didn't know it. In the old Israel, they would hire mourners, professional mourners, to come and grieve with the family, that helped them connect at a deeper level with the emotions they were feeling. Mm-hmm. And what those mourners would do is they'd express grief loudly and passionately. Mm-hmm. And that would reach the feelings of the person that might be somewhat stuck inside. If the other person, depending on their kind of emotional makeup, if you can say that emotion to them, sometimes what that'll do is it'll help them get at something they may not have words for, but you give them words for it, and they go, I feel so understood, because mm-hmm. you didn't just hear what I said, you heard what I didn't say.
Yeah.
So empathy is that bridge that says, I don't just hear your words, but I hear you.
Yes.
And so it's completely legitimate to say, tell me what that was like. Mm-hmm. Because you're saying, I'm interested, it matters to me.
Yeah.
But if you say, that must have been terrifying. Mm-hmm. Or that must have...
I said hard. I can't believe I said it. That must have been hard. I was like, don't say that word.
That must be really hard.
Go watch. It's not about the nail. We've mentioned it before, but that there's a reference in that. So
yeah. And the whole point of that, by the way, when we teach marital communication, one of the key things we do is we teach empathic listening as the most important skill. Mm-hmm. And it's one of the reasons why, if you've got a husband or a wife who's a fixer, honey, I came at work today, I had the most difficult situation come up. Here's what happened. Mm-hmm. The office manager and I had a big fight.
Oh, well, did you talk to the office manager? Like, what did y'all talk about?
Well, yeah, I mean, we had a big fight, but...
so what happened? What did you do?
I wanted her to go home and rest, and she wanted to stick it out and work hard.
Wow.
And I had to really force her to go home.
So did you how did you talk to her about that?
Well, I mean, I just told her forcefully.
Yeah. Oh, so how did that work? Did you just lose our office manager? Oh, dear God.
Sometimes
Yeah.
Amy, our office manager, is watching, so she'll get the references in some of that.
Yeah.
But so you notice that she's trying to fix it all. She's checking to see how I did, and if we kept going, she might have given me advice and counsel me about how I should have talked. I was
trying to do that. I just couldn't shift.
I came up with the example too fast.
Yeah.
But the empathic listening would be, hey, today I had something really hard happen at work. I had a big conflict with the office manager.
Yeah. Sorry, say that one more time. Our thing was glitching. I was making sure it wasn't glitching out.
So something really hard happened today. I had a big conflict with the office manager.
Oh, conflicts is so difficult. How are you doing with that?
I'm sad that it worked out that way.
Yeah. That's really difficult because I know you work hard on having clear communication with her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you see how she's not trying to tell me what I should have done. She's checking on my skill. She's literally just connecting with me and expressing empathy. And so it's not about
all the while thinking, did our office manager going to quit? Kidding.
But so the reason we teach that in marital communication is that when you start trying to fix it, you put yourself in a one-up position over the other person. 9 times out of 10, even if the person does need some input to help guide them, you can't really hand that to them without first connecting to them.
And I could go, hey, if I've connected with him empathically, connected to his heart, if you ever want any suggestions, I would love to offer them. I have some thoughts, but
no, I'm good. But thanks for connecting to me.
Perfect. And then I'll be like, great, he's good.
Yeah. So go watch. It's Not About the Nail, like Polly said. Empathy is the key skill in every form of communication. But especially in relational communication. Yeah. Let's see.
Let's see here. You have the person.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's when somebody is giggling. I used to get, when I would get in trouble, which was a lot, I would giggle because I was so nervous.
Yeah.
I was so scared. And it's staying connected to them and just trying to see if you can find words to put to. It's like, if their outward expression is not matching the internal struggle, it's like, tell me what's going on. Because you're telling me a really sad story and you're giggling. What's happening in your heart right now?
I think I feel anxious about that. I don't really want to feel sad.
Yeah. So you're not ready to feel sad, even though it is a sad story.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. Is there anything, you want to do right now? Do you want to go blow bubbles? Do you want to go take a walk? Do you want to talk some more about it?
No, let's talk more about it.
Okay.
Or if you're talking and the person responds to you with laughter or nervousness, it's sometimes time to ask very overtly for a different kind of response. So I say something hard, had a fight with our office manager today, and gosh, I'm not sure what's going on, but I don't know if you recognize this. It's hard for me. And that response makes me feel like you don't really want to listen.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I don't know what got me giggling. But thank you for letting me know that that's uncomfortable, because I actually feel uncomfortable having this conversation and I don't know why.
Yeah. It feels to me like there's something really important to me, and that response makes it feel like it's not important.
I'm just trying not to laugh for real. I'm so sorry, because this is hard. I can't imagine laughing to that. But when I would get in trouble, it's like, I hear that, you've had a frustrating experience, and then my laughter to your telling me that is even more frustrating.
Yeah, it's confusing.
It is confusing. I'm confused, actually. And because the response is not congruent to what I hear you feeling.
So a real direct ask, this is what that makes me feel. And this is what's happening with me. And when you laugh, it makes me feel like this. It would be helpful if you would recognize what this feels like to me.
Yeah.
So that's the question.
Okay.
All right. So
I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up for this evening.
Yeah. So empathy is one of those things that if you only know about it but don't practice it, then you don't really know about it.
Yeah.
So super important for you to kind of maybe go back and review some of this, do our class on emotional intelligence.
Yes.
For sure. Watch It's Not About the Nail.
Yeah.
But keep in mind, the bigger picture is that empathy is one of those things that we tend to lose more and more in a culture when everybody else is in pain, because people tend to stop and tend to their own pain and ignore the pain of the people around us.
Yeah.
And so one of the reasons we wanted to bring up empathy is it's crucial that we don't lose our hearts as a people. In spite of the fact that everyone around us is feeling pain, we can still be the kind of people who notice that, care about that, and make it a point to really connect to people.
Yeah. And this is just that's people that might, it's just, I think I remember Ellen doing a long time ago, she did a comedy thing where she is at a party and she runs into glass doors. She's like, my eye, I lost my eye. It's fine. She's fine. And she's like, I can't find my eye. And she's laughing because she's in front of all these people and she's embarrassed of her pain and all that kind of, it's just an over exaggeration of really hiding true pain. And so sometimes that is the case. And, it's what's the situation, what's going on? Is it one-on-one? Are there lots of people around? It's just kind of that place of going, do they trust you with their story? And if they don't, that's okay. That may not be about you. And so it's just kind of navigating that and carrying well. It's like, hey, your story that you said was really, it sounds like it's something that's really impacting your heart. If you ever really want to talk about it, I'm here to listen. And so, anyway, just offering that open door if you really are.
Yeah.
If you're not, don't open the door.
So keep in mind, empathy is the skill that connects us at the core level, at the level of the drivers, which is our emotions. Sympathy is the one where we can end up easily overwhelmed because the power of their negative emotions gets transferred to us.
Yeah.
And so empathy allows us to live with people, but not under the weight of their emotions.
Yeah.
But it also builds a bridge that builds community and connection on the larger picture. So
yes.
We'll continue down this vein in
yes.
the next few weeks. And we hope you'll join us for the 2 events coming up in October.
Yes. And Annette, that's a great book, Safe People by Henry Cloud. And glad to see you guys. And we'll see y'all next week.
See you guys next week.
Bye.